After 60, your blood pressure may be rising from salt you never added, not from the shaker, but from the bread, soup, sauces, deli meat, frozen meals, and healthy packaged foods sitting quietly in your kitchen. That is why so many older adults say, "I barely use salt anymore." Yet their blood pressure still creeps higher. And the most frustrating part is this: many of those foods do not even taste very salty. So today, let's make this simple. How much sodium is too much after 60? Where is it hiding? And what number should you check before your next meal? The answer is not to fear salt. The answer is to understand sodium clearly enough that it stops controlling your blood pressure in the background. For many adults, the common upper limit is 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. The World Health Organization recommends staying under 2,000 milligrams per day. And for many people concerned about blood pressure, the American Heart Association points to an ideal goal closer to 1,500 milligrams per day. But here is the mistake that catches people. Those numbers are not about the salt you sprinkle on top of food. They include all the sodium already inside your food before you ever touch the salt shaker. That means the bread in your toaster counts, the soup in your cupboard counts, the sauce in the fridge counts, the deli turkey in your sandwich counts, the cheese, crackers, frozen meals, restaurant food, and seasoning packets all count. This is why someone can eat carefully, avoid chips, avoid fast food, stop adding salt at the table, and still go over the daily sodium limit without realizing it. That is the hidden salt problem after 60. And before we go any further, remember one simple number: 500. If one packaged food, one frozen meal, one soup, one sandwich item, or one main dish has more than about 500 milligrams of sodium, pause and ask, how does this fit into the rest of my day? That does not mean you can never eat it. It means you should not eat it blindly. Now let's slow this down and make it easier. Salt itself is not poison. Your body needs sodium for nerves, muscles, and fluid balance. But after 60, the body may not handle extra sodium as smoothly as it once did. Your arteries may be less flexible. Your kidneys may clear sodium more slowly. Your blood pressure may respond more strongly to a salty meal than it did 20 or 30 years ago. Think of your blood vessels like a garden hose. When the hose is soft and flexible, pressure can rise and fall more easily. But when the hose becomes stiffer, the same amount of extra fluid creates more pressure inside it. Sodium encourages the body to hold on to water. More sodium can mean more fluid in the bloodstream. More fluid moving through stiffer arteries can mean higher pressure. That is why a salty dinner on Saturday night may show up as a higher blood pressure reading on Sunday morning. It may not be random, it may be a pattern. And once you can see the pattern, you can begin to change it. This is where many good people get discouraged. They say, "I already stopped using salt. What else can I do?" The answer is not to blame yourself. The answer is to look for the sodium that was added before the food reached your plate. The American Heart Association notes that more than 70% of the sodium many people eat comes from packaged, prepared, and restaurant foods, not from the salt shaker. That means the biggest sodium sources are often not the most obvious ones. Let's start with bread, because bread surprises people. Most older adults do not think of bread as a salty food. Bread does not taste like potato chips. It does not look dangerous. It feels ordinary, even gentle. But bread is eaten often. Toast in the morning, a sandwich at lunch, a roll with soup, crackers in the evening. When a food appears several times a day, even a moderate sodium amount becomes important. The goal is not to fear bread. The goal is to compare labels. If one bread has much less sodium per slice than another, and both taste acceptable, that simple switch can lower your sodium without changing your whole life. That is the kind of change that works for older adults, because it fits into a routine that already exists. Now look at soup. Soup has a healthy reputation. It feels warm, comforting, and easy to digest. For many seniors, soup is also easy to chew and easy to prepare, but canned soup and restaurant soup can carry a heavy sodium load. The label may say there are 2 servings in one can, but many people eat the entire can as one meal. If one serving has 700 milligrams of sodium, the full can has 1,400 milligrams before you add bread, crackers, cheese, or anything else. That one meal can quietly use up most of the ideal sodium target for someone watching blood pressure. This is not about giving up soup. Soup can still be a useful meal, but it needs to be handled differently. Choose lower sodium versions when possible. Stretch the soup with extra vegetables, beans, lentils, rice, or leftover chicken. Add garlic, onion, black pepper, herbs, lemon, or vinegar to bring back flavor without relying only on salt. This is the key. Do not make food bland. Make it smarter. Now think about deli meat. This is one of the biggest traps because it feels practical. Deli turkey, ham, roast beef slices, salami, sausage, bacon, hot dogs, and smoked meats are easy to use. They save time. They make a quick lunch. They are especially common for people who live alone or do not want to cook a full meal every day. But these foods are often high in sodium because salt is used for flavor, texture, and preservation. A sandwich can look harmless, but let's build it slowly. 2 slices of bread, a few slices of deli meat, a slice of cheese, mustard, pickles, maybe soup or crackers on the side. Each piece may seem normal by itself, but together they can become a high-sodium meal that affects blood pressure later. That is what many people miss. The problem is not always one terrible food. The problem is stacking. Bread plus deli meat plus cheese plus sauce plus soup. That is how sodium builds quietly. If you are listening right now and thinking, this sounds like my lunch, do not feel bad. Just check one label today. Start with the food you eat most often. That one small check can teach you more than guessing for another month. Now let's talk about sauces, because sauces fool even careful eaters. Soy sauce, teriyaki sauce, barbecue sauce, ketchup, bottled salad dressing, gravy mixes, bouillon cubes, pickle relish, and seasoning packets can add a lot of sodium in small amounts. The problem is that people do not always think of sauce as a major part of the meal. They count the chicken, they count the rice, they count the vegetables, but they forget the sauce. And sometimes the sauce is the saltiest thing on the plate. This is where a small change can make a big difference. Use half the sauce. Put dressing on the side. Dilute a salty sauce with lemon juice, vinegar, water, or unsalted broth. Choose low-sodium versions when they taste good enough. Use more garlic, ginger, pepper, herbs, and citrus. The goal is not to remove flavor. The goal is to stop sodium from being the only flavor. That point matters because many people fail at lowering sodium for one reason. They make food taste miserable. They boil chicken, steam vegetables, remove all seasoning, suffer for 4 days, and then quit. That is not discipline. That is a bad plan. A better plan is to reduce sodium where it is hidden and add flavor where it is clean. Lemon brightens fish, chicken, beans, and vegetables. Vinegar wakes up soups, salads, and cooked greens. Garlic and onion create depth. Black pepper adds warmth. Fresh herbs make food feel alive. A small amount of strong flavor can replace a large amount of salt, and after a few weeks of eating less sodium, many people notice something surprising. Foods that once tasted normal begin to taste very salty. Your taste buds can adapt. You are not trapped with your current salt preference forever. Now let's talk about frozen meals. This is important because real life matters. For many seniors, frozen meals are not laziness. They are practical. They help when cooking feels tiring, when hands hurt, when standing is uncomfortable, when shopping takes energy, or when living alone makes cooking feel like too much work. So the answer is not, never eat frozen meals. The better answer is, know the sodium before you buy. Some frozen meals are reasonable. Others contain 800, 900, 1,100 milligrams of sodium or more. If that meal becomes a daily habit, it can make blood pressure harder to control. If you choose a higher sodium frozen meal, balance the rest of the day. Do not pair it with canned soup, salty crackers, processed meat, or extra sauce. Add plain vegetables, fruit, or a simple homemade side. Let the frozen meal be one part of the day, not the sodium anchor for the whole day. This is not perfection. This is awareness. Restaurant food is another major source. Restaurants use salt because it works. It improves flavor, texture, and consistency. And after 60, eating out may be more than food. It may be social connection. It may be time with family. It may be one of the few enjoyable outings of the week. So the answer is not to stop living. The answer is to plan. If dinner will be at a restaurant, keep breakfast and lunch simpler. Choose lower sodium foods earlier in the day. Ask for sauces and dressings on the side. Choose grilled, baked, roasted, or steamed options when available. Share a large portion or take half home. Then, the next morning, notice your blood pressure, not with fear, with curiosity. If the same kind of meal keeps leading to the same kind of reading, your body is giving you information. That information is useful. This is where research supports what many people see at home. In the DASH sodium trial, researchers tested different sodium levels and the DASH eating pattern. The DASH-style diet, especially when combined with lower sodium, lowered blood pressure, and the effect was especially meaningful in people who already had high blood pressure. More recently, a crossover trial published in JAMA studied adults aged 50 to 75. After just 1 week, the low-sodium diet produced a lower systolic blood pressure compared with the high-sodium diet. The median systolic reading was 126 millimeters of mercury on the high-sodium diet and 119 millimeters of mercury on the low-sodium diet. That difference matters because the top number, systolic blood pressure, is the number many older adults struggle with most. This does not mean every person responds the same way. Some people are more salt sensitive than others. But after 60, salt sensitivity becomes more common, especially when blood pressure, kidney function, diabetes, or artery stiffness are part of the picture. So the best question is not, is salt bad? The better question is, how does my blood pressure respond to sodium? And you can begin answering that question with a simple 3-day method. For 3 days, do not try to change everything, just observe. Write down what you normally eat. Check sodium numbers where labels are available. Pay attention to bread, soup, cheese, deli meat, sauces, frozen meals, crackers, and restaurant food. At the same time, write down your blood pressure at a consistent time each day. By the end of 3 days, look for the top 3 sodium sources, not 20. 3. This is important because trying to fix everything at once is exhausting, but finding the 3 biggest sodium sources gives you a practical starting point. Maybe your top 3 are soup, bread, and deli meat. Maybe they are frozen meals, sauces, and crackers. Maybe they are restaurant food, cheese, and seasoning packets. Once you know your top 3, you stop guessing. And guessing is what keeps many people stuck. Here is a simple action for today. Choose one packaged food you eat often and check the sodium number. Do not judge it, just check it. Then ask, is this food helping my blood pressure pattern or quietly working against it? That one small action is more useful than worrying about salt in general. Now let's return to the 3 numbers that make this easier: 2,300, 1,500 to 2,500. The first number, 2,300, is the common upper daily sodium limit many adults hear in North American guidance. The second number, 1,500 to 2,000, is the lower range many people with blood pressure concerns often try to move toward. The third number, 500, is your practical label check number. If one item has more than about 500 milligrams of sodium, look at the rest of the day before you eat it casually. These numbers are not meant to make eating stressful. They are meant to make the invisible visible. A 700 milligram soup may fit into a day if the rest of the meal is simple, but a 700 milligram soup with a deli sandwich, cheese, pickles, and crackers is a different pattern. That is the difference between one food and a sodium load. Now let's clear up one more common misunderstanding: sea salt, pink salt, kosher salt, and natural salt. For blood pressure, sodium is sodium. Sea salt may look more natural, pink salt may look healthier, kosher salt may feel more culinary, but none of these make high sodium harmless. If you use more because the salt feels better, your blood pressure does not care about the color, the crystal, or the marketing. It responds to the sodium load. The same idea applies to healthy-looking packaged foods. A food can say plant-based, high-protein, whole grain, low-fat, heart-smart, or natural on the front of the package. But the front of the package is marketing. The back of the package is information. Read the sodium, read the serving size, then ask the most important question: is this serving size what I actually eat? If the label says half a cup and you eat 1.5 cups, multiply the sodium by 3. This is one of the easiest ways people accidentally underestimate sodium. Now imagine a day that looks careful but may still be high in sodium. Breakfast is toast with salted butter and cottage cheese. Lunch is canned soup with crackers. Dinner is a frozen meal with bottled sauce. Snack is cheese or flavored nuts. There is no fast food, no chips, no salt shaker, and still, sodium may be high. Now compare it with a different day. Breakfast is oatmeal with fruit and yogurt, or eggs with vegetables and lower sodium toast. Lunch is homemade or lower sodium soup stretched with vegetables and beans. Dinner is fish or chicken with potatoes, greens, lemon, garlic, pepper, and a measured amount of sauce. Snack is fruit, unsalted nuts, or plain yogurt. This is not extreme. It is not fancy. It is just less sodium dense. And over several weeks, that difference can matter. The American Heart Association notes that cutting back by even 1,000 milligrams of sodium per day can improve blood pressure and heart health for many people. That sounds like a big number, but it can happen through ordinary swaps. Lower sodium soup, less sauce, different bread, less deli meat, no seasoning packet, or a better frozen meal. 2 or 3 small changes in one day can add up quickly. This is why the plan should be simple. At breakfast, reduce sodium in bread, butter, cheese, or processed meat. At lunch, reduce sodium in soup, deli meat, crackers, or dressing. At dinner, reduce sodium in sauces, frozen meals, seasoning packets, or restaurant portions. 1 change per meal. That is enough to begin. If this reminds you of someone over 60 who says, "I barely use salt, but my pressure is still high," this may be the video they need to hear, because the problem may not be the salt they add. It may be the sodium already hidden in the foods they trust. Now, before we close, I want to make this personal. If your blood pressure has been creeping up, it does not mean you failed. Most people were never taught how hidden sodium works. Food labels can be confusing, serving sizes can be unrealistic, restaurant meals are hard to estimate, and convenience foods are everywhere because they are easy, affordable, and familiar. So this is not about blame. It is about finding the few places where sodium is sneaking into your day and quietly making your heart work harder. Start with awareness, then choose your top 3 sodium sources, then make 1 change per meal, then watch the pattern. The goal is not a salt-free life. The goal is a sodium-aware life. So, how much salt is too much after 60? For many adults, regularly going above 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day is too much. For many people focused on blood pressure, moving closer to 1,500 to 2,000 milligrams per day may be more useful. And for everyday label reading, any single food above about 500 milligrams deserves a second look. But the deeper answer is this: too much sodium is the amount that keeps your blood pressure higher, makes your fluid balance less steady, and forces your heart and arteries to work harder when simple changes could reduce the load. You do not need to fear every grain of salt. You need to stop hidden sodium from making decisions for your blood pressure. Before your next meal, check 1 label. Before your next grocery trip, compare 1 product. And before you leave, write in the comments which food you think hides the most sodium in your day: bread, soup, deli meat, sauces, frozen meals, or restaurant food. Your answer may help another older adult notice the hidden salt sitting quietly in their own kitchen. Because after 60, the salt you see is only part of the story. The salt you do not see may be the reason your blood pressure is still fighting you.